Hi and welcome, my name's Terry, and I've been having a little bit of an issue with my self-confidence lately after making a really bad mistake which shook me up a lot, and then when I thought I was over it, I realised I wasn't after not being able to land at a strip I'd had no issues with before due to nerves. I had been flying to some farm strips for the last couple of weeks just trying to build my confidence back up, but they were all pretty easy and I was starting to feel I was ready for something a little bit more adventurous. So today I'm going to try and banish those nerves once and for all by visiting one of the shortest, gnarliest strips I've ever landed on, with a difficult approach and some nasty obstacles. I've not been here before, but I have been told by a friend that flies from here that if I can land there, I can land anywhere. So wish me luck and come and see how I get on. Oh, and hang on to the end of the video where my landing back home on a lovely long runway ended up a bit, well, you'll see. This is Plaistows, a short grass strip mainly used by microlights, 20 miles to the north of central London and just a couple of miles to the southwest of St Albans, nestled between the M25 and the M1 motorways. It's set on open farmland, 395 feet above mean sea level, and has two short grass runways, orientated 1230 at 329 metres or 1080 feet long, and a main runway orientated 1533 at 357 metres or 1171 feet long, which has a marked upslope from the 33 end. There's 200 foot high pylons surrounding the strip which sits in a small valley, along with notified no fly areas on and around the circuit and all along the approach. Even though I'd already done my calculations and had worked out that it was totally possible with all the usual limits, I was not going to land there until I'd seen it firsthand. So a recce trip in the car was in order. I visited one evening and met the owner Derek, and also got to talk to a few of the local pilots. After a walk of the runways and a look at the surroundings, it was very obvious to me that this strip was on the limit of my aircraft's performance, and the only way I was going to do this with a decent margin of safety would be on a calm wind day, using 3-3 to land on and departing in the opposite direction on 1-5 down the hill. Derek was happy that I'd checked the place out first and gave me an open invitation to fly in whenever I felt it was safe to do so. I've been keeping an eye on the weather and finally the day dawned that offered light winds and good clear visibility. Today was the day I was going to banish those feelings of self-doubt and finally get my mojo back. I prepared the aircraft carefully, ensuring the fuel load was light but with more than enough to get there and back with a healthy margin for any diversion or hold I might have to make. I also was not going to take any passengers on this one to ensure the aircraft was as light as possible. I depart runway 02 at North Weald and then turn west for the short flight to Plaistows. I've planned to do an overhead join, but as I get there, there's a flex wing approaching from the west who will be there about the same time as I will, and another flex on the ground just about to depart for circuits on runway 33. So I blow that idea out and join crosswind instead. Due to the areas marked avoid on the chart, the circuit is pretty big for such a short strip, but I'm more than happy about that as it means I've got time to study the hazards.
Plaistows traffic visual with you on the runway and Golf Charlie Zulu just crosswind, this is probably for a mist, runway 33.
Plaistows traffic, Golf Julia Alpha, overhead, descending dead side, runway 33.
As I turn from crosswind to downwind, I announce my position as the flex joins overhead.
Okay, to the junction.
You can hear I'm not super confident as I'm already letting the others know that this may be a go around. Downwind now, and I'm looking to turn base around the motorway junction. I've noted that the general circuit area was around 400 feet above mean sea level, and with pylons running parallel to the strip being at 200 feet above surface level, I will not descend below the circuit height of 800 feet before passing the pylons on the base leg.
So I want to get over these cables. There's a good view of the runway now. Plaistows traffic, Golf Charlie Zulu, Sport Cruiser final, runway 33, Plaistows.
I fly over the wires and then start my descent to set up on final at around a mile.
Plaistows traffic, Golf Whiskey Zulu, downwind 33, left hand, visual 2 ahead.
So am I happy with this? Yeah, that looks pretty good. Through the trees. Speed, let's get that speed back.
As I drop down, I get a great view of the 3-3 runway, which is standing up a bit due to the upslope, which will help me to slow down once I get on the ground.
Wind's calm.
I'm going to fly through those trees to try and touch down as close to the start of the strip as possible. My confidence is building, and with a calm wind I commit to the landing. I cross the threshold and touch down. I'm quite heavy on the brakes, but I don't really need to be as the hill slows me down quickly.
Easy. Whew. Oh, I'm glad about that.
And I turn off to the parking area after using just 2/3 of the available length.
Plaistows traffic, Golf Charlie Zulu, Sport Cruiser, clear of the active.
So it's time for me to go. It's, I think I'm going to take off the opposite way to I came in, because that hill is quite a bit. So I think I'd rather go down the hill than up the hill. Wind is doing absolutely nothing. So yeah, this is Plaistows. Really pleased I've come here. Glad I've got my mojo back. Brilliant.
I taxi the aircraft to as near the start of the runway as possible and turn to face the takeoff direction. It will take me less than 10 seconds to go from standstill to rotation speed, at which point I will have eaten up 70% of the strip length. Should I get an issue, there is a field immediately beyond the runway, but it does have wires at its end, so it will have limited use as an emergency landing area.
Airspeed's alive. Revs are okay. T's and P's are okay. Getting ground effect.
After all my confidence issues lately, I do feel much happy about my performance as a pilot after tackling this tricky little strip, but I have learnt a valuable lesson from my near accident and my loss of nerve, and it's all down to doing the basics right, which is I'm going to do my planning beyond just checking the runway length and notes. If possible, I'll visit a new strip by road before flying in, and I'll talk to the local pilots. This gives you so much more valuable information that I just wouldn't have got from any chance alone. By visiting for the first time on a calm wind day, or when the wind is favouring your preferred runway and the ground is dry, makes things so much easier. With these short strips I want to be as light as possible, so I won't take more fuel than I need, even if my calculations show the aircraft's performance at higher weights is still okay. Being that bit lighter gives you better overall handling and performance, as well as the added reassurance that you will have a higher margin for any errors. And finally, unless you intend on taking an instructor or another safety pilot, I would suggest visiting on your own for the first visit. Short strips do add to the risk factor, and it's not fair to subject a passenger to these. Plus, not taking them will keep the aircraft light. Oh, and there's one more little tip with regard to pre-planning. If you have Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, it's a great tool to use for airfield familiarisation. I did a little video on it a while back, but it's only got better since then. If you fancy a crack at Plaistows, it's not listed, but I'll pop the coordinates in the description below. And if you want to try it in a similar performing aircraft to the little sport cruiser, then use the default Diamond DV20 and let me know how you get on. So here's my landing back at North Weald's long grass runway. I think I hit a bump on touchdown and almost entered pilot induced oscillation. See what you think.
And we'll let it sink. It's clear. So we're now down to 50 knots. I'm going to try and land on that line. bit of a bounce there. But don't be tempted to sort of counteract it if that happens to you, as it happened to me, because you'll just get into pilot-induced oscillation, which you don't want to do because you'll break the nose wheel. So just pulling it back, just letting it settle back onto the ground. If you need a little bit of power, sometimes that helps. It often happens when you're coming into these, well, not so much this one. I mean, I think I just landed it a bit too early. I think maybe that might be a little bit, oh no, I'm making excuses. But yeah, if it does happen, don't be tempted to try and push the nose forward, because that just ends in tears.
Thank you so much for watching. Fly safe and Shortfield out.